Hi, my name is Jean Williams, and I'm here to share the second part of my story album for 2025 with you. I shared the first part of my 10 by 8 story album in a video last fall, and a lot of people enjoyed seeing that, so I thought I would share the second part of the album from mid to late June until the end of the year with you. I actually just finished this album last week. I was on a big trip to Thailand in January, so I'm a little late finishing up my 2025 projects and starting my 2026 projects. But really, there's no behind in memory keeping. I'm just happy to have it all documented. So the first layout I have here for starting the second part of my year is a layout about my daughter Anna turning 24, and we had a birthday party at home, and then she went to the beach with some of her girlfriends for a birthday party. And so I am using mostly Storyteller kits in this album. I'm also using some of the Stories by the Month kits and a few items from my stash. So this is an album with the Colors Story kit. I think this, not an album, a layout with the Color Story kit, and I think this might have been the first layout I did with the Color Story kit. I loved this kit so much. I really like color, and all the colors really resonated with me. So you'll see, I think I did about 8 layouts with this kit, maybe 5 or 6 in here, one 12 by 12 layout, and a bunch of Project Life layouts. So this card was from the kit, this quote card, life is art, live yours in color. And then this was a journaling card that was on a cut apart sheet that I cut apart, that I added the story on. And then on this large full page photo, I added one of the die cut words and some of the floral die cuts from the kit. And I really love how this turned out. This is a great picture at the golden hour of my daughter and her friends. And then I used a couple of the cut apart labels from the kit and added letter and number stickers from my stash for her name and age. And then the next layout I did might be one of my favorite of the whole year. This one I did a multi-page layout about our family time at the beach. We have a beach house in Bethany Beach, Delaware, and my husband and daughter both work for KPMG, which has a week off of July 4th week. And then my daughter Catherine works remotely. She lives in New York City, so she was able to come down to the beach and hang out with us for a couple weeks too. So we had almost 2 weeks together as a family, which, as you know, as a parent of kids who are not living at home, it's so special to have this. So Allie had done in the classroom a layout for this kit where she did some long form journaling. And so when I saw that in the classroom, I actually wrote what I wanted to remember about this time period before I even got my kit in a notes app on my phone. So then when I got the kit, I was able to put together the spread and print out my journaling and adhere it to this page. So I did a full page photo of all of us. We did a boat day and we were floating in the bay. And then I used again one of the large die cut words. And then these die cut suns were all from the July Stories by the Month kit. So I sprinkled them all around, used a stamp from my stash about summer activities, and then sprinkled around some of the die cut asterisks as well. This paper was too perfect for telling a beach story. Let us lay in the sun and count every beautiful thing we can see. And so I put this in as well with the die cut suns. And then I cut out from one of the transparencies the word love as a tab on the side, and then on the back for a tab for this page as well. So like I said, I had typed up all my journaling and I used this colorful label paper. I just printed the journaling off on printer paper and then cut it out and adhered it onto the page, and then added in some summer themed word phrase stickers from my stash. And then I paired that with one of these page protectors that has 6 3x4 spots and added photos from our 2 weeks, a sort of filler card where I used a sun, and then I added 3 of these memory little tabs, chipboards to the photos as well. So I really love how this turned out, and it's fun to have this documented. And then this is another one of my favorite layouts. I love to take beach umbrella photos. When I'm on the beach, I take them from under my umbrella. So I printed out one large at a 6x8 size and then 5 smaller ones. And Allie had also done this in the classroom where she cut up these 3x4 cards that said documenting life and then put them on top of a photo. So I did the same thing with 5 different umbrella photos plus the large 6x8. Used the story journaling card, and then this For the Love of Color chipboard was from the kit, as well as the currently banner and the asterisk, and then I just stamped the dates, July and August 2025. And then I think I've mentioned this before, but I love to use these tab stickers for all the different page sizes in the album, and I had a bunch from a travel release that were about outdoor activities. So this one says Breeze, which I thought worked well with the umbrella photos. And here's another sort of beach themed layout. This was a paper from the Color Story Kit as well, the open heart paper. And then I used one of the journaling cards. And these were a couple chipboard circles and die cut circles. The suns were from the July Stories by the Month kit. This was from the Colors kit. And I think Taking Care of Me was maybe from the May or June Stories by the Month kit. So I did a little reflective journaling. I added a 6x8 photo of my shadow on the beach. And then I talked about how much I love my beach time every year, how I'm doing with my knee surgery recovery. I had knee surgery, right knee replacement last March. And so I was getting a lot stronger, but still working on that as well. So I think this one turned out really nicely. And then outside for the tab sticker. And then these were 2 papers in the Colors kit. This prompt paper had currentlies. And so I stamped with a stamp from Heba Al-Sabai what I was watching, reading, listening to, loving, making, and eating, and added the currently banner at the top. And then I took 2x2 photos and rounded the corners of each of these things and stamped with a stamp from my stash, and added the photo to correspond with what I stamped over here. And I colored in these letters with Crayola and Tombow markers from my stash that matched the colors. And I thought this one turned out really fun. And for this tab, I used one of the cut-aparts that said Memory Keeping Love, and then a different one on the back. And then this was also with the Color Story kit. These details 1 through 5 cards were in the kit, and as well as these die cut labels. So I cut those out and added them to the bottom of the half circles. I really leaned into circles and half circles on this. And I documented my favorite mugs for the summer season. I really love having different coffee mugs, and every morning I take a picture with my coffee and post it on my story. So these were some of my summer mugs. So I paired these cards where I wrote the name of each of the mugs with pictures of the mugs and added number stickers. And then I used a whole bunch of die cuts and pattern papers and vellum from the Color Story kit and also my stash, as well as some stamps from a coffee stamp that Allie did quite a few years ago. And then I also stamped on this label, This Season in Mugs. So I love how this turned out. It's really fun and bright and colorful. And I do love circles as a repeated element. And then I added a half circle as a tab on this page and one on the back. And then I think this might have been the last layout I did with the Color Story kit. And this was about my daughter Catherine's birthday. She turned 26 in August. So for the back of this 3x4 pocket page, I added 5 photos of her with her friends, with me, all her different birthday celebrations, used the story journaling card and added number stickers for her age. And then this paper was in the kit, and so I cut a large photo of her into an oval here, added her initial over a floral die cut, and then one of the labels at the top. So this is a really fun one too. And then we go into my day in the life. So this was in August, but I don't think I did this layout till September. This is in October, so it's a little bit out of order because I think there's, no, I guess there isn't. So September, I guess I didn't really do many story album layouts, but that's fine with me because it's all about just the most important stories for each month and the whole year of stories all together. So this was my day in the life, and I used the day in the life kit for this, which is part of the story play release. And so this prompt paper I just stamped in response to sights, sounds, tastes, smells, and feels from that day. Added some scalloped washi tape on the side, and then all these half circles were on a sheet 6x8 paper that I cut apart, so I added those decoratively. And then I used the transparency from the day in the life release and added chipboards from the kit in an embellishment trail, and then nestled this in between this page and then my photos from the day. And I think this turned out really cool. So I used one 6x8 page protector and one 10x8 with 3x4 cards and photos to document the day. And the theme for this day in the life was Today I Noticed 1 through 8. So I cut my photos into 2x2 and I adhered them onto each card with a little bit of journaling on the bottom about what I noticed that day, and then added on each one a word phrase sticker and a puffy starburst from my stash into these little circles. This I made a title card out of one of the cut apart circles, added the date, and this chipboard was from my stash. And so I repeated the same exact treatment to each of the cards about what I noticed for the day, and then interspersed some filler cards that had all the circle cutouts from the kit, and then I used circle chipboard from my stash to finish the embellishment. And then I had one extra space, so I added a photo of myself from the day. So I really love actually how this all looks as I turn these pages, and it's fun to have this day documented in what I noticed from it. And then we go into the next Storyteller kit, which was the Highs and Lows Storyteller kit. And I guess starting in this year, they're not going to have a theme anymore, but in 2025, they all had themes. So Allie always says in the classroom, you know, start with one of the prompt papers that you can just write responses to. So I did that with the 3 hard things and 3 good things prompt paper. This was 6x8, and I extended it to 10x8 with one of the vellum pieces from the kit cut to 4x8 to make this a full page, and added some embellishments here. But I stamped numbers 1, 2, 3 on each side, and then a little subhead, My Story. And then I just wrote 3 hard things and 3 good things from this season. I wrote this in, this was from November of last year. And then I printed out photos that encapsulated what I was talking about here. Fall colors, a wedding we went to for my niece, which was so much fun, and then a picture of my mom and dad. My dad decided to put his Christmas tree up in October, so that was kind of interesting. My mom has Alzheimer's and has really been declining, so that was one of my hard things. And I think this turned out really fun. And then on the back of this, I did a story I love about my daughter, Anna, running the Marine Corps Marathon in the fall. This was the second time she ran it. She ran it in 2022 as well, and she just killed it this time. The weather was great. She beat her time and did a personal best and was so, so happy. So I thought this high fives paper could not have been more perfect for documenting this accomplishment. So I added a 4x6 photo of the 3 of us onto the page. My husband rode his bike around all morning and followed her throughout the course so he could cheer her on. And I saw her in several places on the mall downtown and then met her at the finish line. So I added a little trail of embellishments from the Highs and Lows kit here, and then added some more embellishments to the back of the vellum here. Used, again, some of this scallop washi, which I really love. It's from Doodlebug Design. And I don't have a sewing machine, so I often use washi to attach when I'm extending pages. This one, the album's starting to get a little funny with large and small pages, so I did have to staple the edges of this one. And then I paired this with a 4x8 insert. This was a journaling card from my stash, and so I journaled about the day with 1 through 5 here, added the washi tape, added a 4x8 photo of her with her medal on the back. And then this paper I have been saving for a long time. This was from the Best Story Kit, and I thought it would be perfect for this marathon story. And so I added, I think these are 2-inch circles that I used a circle punch to cut out from the day. This circle was from the Highs and Low kit, as well as this one, as well as this die cut word. And then there were all these labels, so I stamped Just Joy here and added some of the starbursts. So I really love how this came together, and then I added the date in the bottom here. And then for my gratitude, I used to do a November gratitude documented project in a mini album, but the past couple of years I just felt like I haven't had the bandwidth for that. So I did a gratitude from each day on a label paper. This was from the Halloween kit from 2025. So I started with the 1st through the 14th here and just added a date stamp and wrote a little sentence about what I was grateful for that day. And I used the gratitude story play kit for part of this as well. So this was from the gratitude kit. This transparency was from that, as well as this 3x4 card and this chipboard. And so I added a chipboard for the tab. And then I think this was from the gratitude kit, but it might have been from the November Stories by the Month kit. So I just added these cards back to back. And I had gotten my December daily stash out, so I was all into gold sparkly stars. So I added those on this layout as well. And then for the second half of the month, I created my own label paper using a pattern paper from the Gratitude Story Play Kit, and then a bunch of different labels from my stash, which I think is really fun. And so again, I just stamped the date and wrote what I was grateful for each day. And then at the bottom, added a chipboard and another little label with a phrase sticker on it. So that was my gratitude documented for the month. And I really love having all those little bits of thankfulness in my album. And then I just finished up my album recently. So I just did these last 3 layouts in the past week, which is now end of January and February of 2026. When I saw this starburst paper in the kit, I knew I wanted to use it to tell a story of turning 60. I turned 60 in late November last year, and boy, turning 60 is not for the faint of heart. I was feeling really reflective leading up to that, but it ended up being fine. It is what it is. We thrive in each new stage. So I added a photo of myself celebrating, and then I stamped with an old celebration stamp from Feed Your Craft in gold and pink, these little cheers, champagne glasses, and celebration, I don't know, what are these called? Pennants. And then I used letter stickers from the Highs and Lows kit here to spell my name and here to say birthday fun to sort of tie the 2 pages together. Added gold puffy stickers for my age. And then I had 2 more photos from my celebrations. This card was from the Highs and Lows kit. Simply so grateful for all of this. And I felt like it worked perfectly with this story. And then this journaling card was also from the same kit. It had a number here. It was like story 1, 2, and 3. But since I was only using one of them, I added a chipboard heart and then did my journaling here and then added a few word phrase stickers in pink. So I'm really grateful to have this documented. And then my last couple spreads are from, I guess, December. This is a reflective story about just the year. Looking back at the past 365 days, this was from the December Stories by the Month kit. So this and this hopeful card, which was also from that kit, really kind of sparked this story for me. I love this hopeful card. Next chapter, please. And the asterisk was also from the December Stories by the Month kit. So I added a couple photos of my family and then me from the end of the year. I added this quote card from the Highs and Lows kit. I feel there is nothing more artistic than loving people. and then added my journaling on another one of these 4x6 cards. It's hard to see, but I stamped Practicing Hope from that new story stamp in very light blue here as well, and then added asterisks and chipboard puffies from my stash. And I felt this was a good way to wrap up the year. It was a hard year in many ways for me last year, so I was ready to turn the page. But I made it through it, so that's great. And then my last layout was just sort of a little recap of December. I have most of my big stories from December in my December Daily album, but I wanted to add just a few little clips of 2x2 photos onto this pattern paper that was in the kit of my advent calendar. And then I got two very special handmade gifts from dear scrapbooking friends, Elaine and Sarah. Elaine made me a December Daily pouch, which is gorgeous. And Sarah crocheted this stunning tote. I was really so pleased with both of them. So I added those photos. And then I took this chipboard and this chipboard were from the December Stories by the Month kit. And this one was from my stash. And then these cards were all from the December Stories by the Month kit. So just added a few details about the month and my Christmas presents and how much I enjoyed my advent calendar, and put in this December and highlights. So that's just a little highlight story from December. And then I decided to end my album with this 6x8 paper from the Highs and Lows kit that says Chapters of Life. I love this paper, but I decided not to hoard it and use it. And then I had found this. This was on Instagram and it really resonated with me, so I printed it out. You've made it to here, the last week of the year, and it may have been a hard year, and you may have dealt with unexpected stuff, and yet you kept going. You showed up. You gave and loved and tried. So this week, look forward to the future, but also take a moment to look back and be proud. Proud of you, you made it. So I had shared this to my story at the end of December. So I printed that off and then added a label sticker, another year documented, that's a wrap, and then a cork heart from my stash with my story. And then I felt like I wanted something on the back of the album because it looked a little bare. And so I found these circles in my stash, added them, and then this 2025 was from the December Daily kit, I believe, one of the die cuts, and I wanted to go ahead and use it, so I added it there. So that is a wrap on my 2025 story album. I made it into one album. It's a bit chunky. I took out a few pages for this flip through, but it all does fit together, and I think it looks great. And I am going to be using a 10x8 story album again in 2026. And I'm planning to do a similar thing using the Storyteller kits and Stories by the Month kits. So thanks so much for watching. And I can't wait to hear about any stories that you document. Leave comments for me and tell me how you're planning to document your stories this year. And I hope to see you soon.